Browns at training camp. Rookie wide receivers making an early impression. With the Cleveland Browns marching toward the end of their second week of training camp and beginning to prep for their AUG 15 preseason opener, there's been no real movement on the quarterback front. Deshaun Watson has had one stellar day of practice and a bunch of forgettable ones. Shedeur Sanders has had multiple strong throwing days and a couple that were less than impressive.
Then I found Lulu Talks tea and everything shifted. Once I started drinking it, my mornings were ruined in the sense that they'd never be the same again. I began waking up feeling rested and energized, something I hadn't experienced in years. My new routine? Just 1 cup of Lulu Talks in the morning. On top of that, my menopause symptoms have eased significantly. I finally feel like myself again, strong, confident, and like a woman who's ready to take on the day.
Curious what makes it different? Scan the QR code now or visit grabdeal.us/8.
Browns coach Todd Monken hasn't shared much about when he expects to name a starter, but he's hinted that he's in no rush and said that both will play in preseason settings over the next 15 days. Advertisement Thursday's 8th practice of full camp marked the end of the installation stage for the offense. Though that probably means Monken could stop dividing the reps evenly and start gearing play calls toward the strengths of each quarterback. The first-year Browns head coach has been mostly vague about his plans, but consistent in sharing that he wants to see his quarterbacks master the offense, the huddle, the playbook, and multiple cadences as the summer continues. The quarterbacks are getting better, Monken said. I could see that Wednesday, a couple times we changed some plays at the line of scrimmage. We were down on the clock, but a couple days before we wouldn't have gotten those plays off. Ultimately, the quarterback that's going to play is the one that gives us the best chance to score points, so it's all part of that. I would hope that we could get the quarterbacks and our offense to operate at a high level and then have the most talented guy that puts points on the board for us be the starter. The 3 primary storylines of Cleveland's camp have involved the quarterbacks, the rookie wide receivers, and the injuries that have left the Browns shorthanded at multiple spots. Let's catch up on what's been going on outside of the quarterback competition. Stock rising at WR rookie receiver, Denzel Boston dropped a pass on Tuesday and had Grant Delpit punch one out of his hands Thursday. Otherwise, Boston has caught everything and impressed along the way. Boston was probably the standout offensive player of the spring, when the defense was down many of its best players in the secondary. Now, the defense is at full strength and winning most drills, but Boston has consistently used his size to position himself to make contested catches and has clearly earned the trust of Sanders and Watson. Advertisement, though Jerry Jeudy had his most productive day of camp Thursday. It's clear that Boston and fellow rookie Casey Conception are Cleveland's most gifted receivers. Conception gave the team a brief scare with an awkward landing on his shoulder late in Monday's practice, but he's shown both big-time speed and an ability to adjust to the ball when running routes over the middle. After standout tight end Harold Fannin Jr. sat out the spring and missed a day of camp last week for personal reasons, Fannin has also become more consistently involved with the pass game this week. The Browns are still working through plenty of things on the offensive side, but it's not too early to say the pass-catching group has been significantly upgraded. Patching things together, though, Monken has said Cleveland believes most of the new injuries at defensive tackle are short-term. The team has encountered an injury emergency at the position. Malik Collins remains on the physically unable to perform list while rehabbing his 2025 quad injury. Mason Graham is off to a strong start but has missed the last 3 practices. Mike Hall Jr., who played with the starters in the first week of camp, hasn't been seen since. Sam Kamara, a holdover and potential depth piece, was carted off the field early in Monday's practice. Kalia Davis hasn't practiced since he was injured on the first day of full camp. The team doesn't have to divulge injury details at this point of the calendar, but the rash of injuries has caused a ripple effect. The Browns had to sign Travis Bell, who played in the UFL last spring, then claimed Coziah Izzard via waivers to further address the defensive tackle shortage. Wednesday and Thursday, undrafted rookie Tyreek Sapp and 2025 undrafted rookie Aden Huntington played defensive tackle with the starters. Monken has increased the time between drills and practices to allow the defensive tackles some additional rest. Advertisement: Collins is on schedule with his rehab, and the Browns still think he's going to deliver a strong season. But Hall is missing valuable time, and in an offseason that was mostly about patching the offensive holes, the Browns added Davis believing he could make an impact. What's really concerning is the defense continues to dominate most practice periods with key players missing at defensive tackle and linebacker. There are injury concerns on the offensive line, too. The Browns have been without centers Elgton Jenkins and Parker Brailsford over the last 2 practices. Brailsford is wearing a protective brace on his right wrist. Tevin Jenkins hasn't practiced in a week, meaning KT Leveston has taken almost all of the reps at right guard with the no. And backup guard Zach Zinter left the practice field Thursday on a cart. There was no immediate update on his status. Monken thought 4 of the 5 starting offensive line jobs were settled heading into camp, the lone exception being at center. But the head coach said this week that rookie first-round tackle Spencer Fano is still catching up with things and left open the possibility that veteran Dawand Jones could end up starting the season at left tackle. Monken stressed that it's too early to know that for sure, and the Browns have continued to alternate Jones and Fano with the no. But Monken had high praise for Jones, who's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and said there are multiple positions where a player could end up starting while you get the other, younger, players up to speed. Fano played right tackle over his last 2 college seasons, but it felt like a safe assumption, given his draft status, that he'd been in the starting lineup at left tackle for Cleveland this season. Dawand is in the best shape of his life, Monken said. He's out there competing, talking smack, seems to be in a really good place, and we want to reward that. We also want to bring Spencer along at a pace we feel is the best way to build his confidence, and I think offensive line coach George Warhop is doing a great job with that. Warhop said he believes competition brings out the best in players and that both Jones and Fano need work with the no. One offense to maximize their respective camp experiences. Advertisement: This is beneficial for the players in the long run and beneficial for us in the long run, Warhop said. They're both good players, and they're improving because of it. Defensive end Jard Verse spent time working with Fano on the field after a practice earlier in the week. Verse has won most of his one-on-one matchups with Fano in practice, which isn't surprising, but Monken was nearby when the third-year defensive end spent time coaching up the rookie tackle. Jard is not only a great leader, but he also works his rear end off every day, Monken said. And after practice, he's trying to get Spencer better. I stood right behind him listening to what he was talking about, and it was bang, bang, bang 5 reps in a row of his footwork, then talking through what he was going to do, how he could redirect, how he could use his hands and punch. It was within 5 reps I saw Spencer get better. It was Jard teaching like he was a coach, and it was awesome.